I'm going to talk to you about 10 movies that you have never heard of before coming out this month, so you can get ready to check them out. Let's get into it. A grieving mother is haunted by the tragic loss of her daughter in a car accident that left her abusive husband in a coma. Plagued by the haunted visions, she grapples with the blurred lines between reality and a nightmare. This movie stars Hayden Panettiere, who I always just look at as either the cheerleader from the show Heroes or that one girl in that game that I like, Until Dawn. That's all I see. But hey, here she is playing a mother now in a movie, so that just makes me feel really old. But at first glance, this movie seems like it's just one of those horror films that comes out in January that everybody forgets after the trailer release. But I think there's something in here that might be intriguing. You know, it doesn't look like that typical generic psychological thriller slop. Maybe, just maybe, I have hope that they are going to pull some interesting mystery at the end of this film. But you can check out Sleepwalker when it hits VOD and theaters on January 9th. When a destitute man breaks into a house of an elite cybersecurity analyst, it's not just a random home invasion. A tense game of cat and mouse begins, but things soon spiral into a chaotic, blood-splattered brawl across the city that's fueled by anger, guilt, and obsession. So Relentless just looks like it's going to be a fun time. You know, if you're looking for some people getting beat up, if you're looking for some people getting bloodied, this might be the movie for you. This movie did already premiere at Grime Fest. Weird name for a festival. And some of the participants did say that the film did drag a bit, but I'm hoping that for me, it's not going to be that much of a drag, and I'm going to enjoy the action that comes into here. But you can check Relentless out when it hits VOD on January 9th. After retiring from the police force, a relentless detective, haunted by a tragic loss of his closest friend, sets out on a perilous quest for vengeance, seeking redemption, and fighting to restore justice on the streets he once swore to protect. This is our first Michael J. White movie of the year. Looks like on IMDb he's slated to at least have 2 more films this year, so you know that ranking of Michael J. White films is coming. But this does look like it's more of a serious film than the typical VOD slop that we get from Michael J. White every year. So I kind of have some hopes for this movie. I don't think it's going to be Oscar nominated worthy, but I do think that it's going to be way more elevated than the films that we do get from him throughout the years. You can check out Oscar Shaw as it releases on VOD and theaters January 9th. Upon discovering millions in cash in his stash house, trust among the team of Miami cops begins to fray. As outside forces learn about the seizure, everything is called into question, including who they can rely on. So we got Matt Damon and Ben Affleck teaming up yet again. And I gotta say, you know, it might be a hot take. I feel like when Ben Affleck or Matt Damon are by themselves, you know, they're doing their own movies and everything, it's just not that compelling. They're not that compelling of actors when they're by themselves. I know Matt Damon's got a big movie coming out with Christopher Nolan and the Odyssey, and everybody's, you know, pissing their pants waiting for that movie to come out. But, you know, together, this is when they're best. So, you know, maybe the Odyssey needs to do some reshoots and put Matt Damon and Ben Affleck together in that movie, and it'll just be 10 times better. But the RIP or the RIP, whatever you want to call it, looks like it's going to be the big Netflix movie of the first half of the year. But, you know, I'm going to check it out because it is the biggest movie that's hitting so far on Netflix, and it does have Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, so it's got to be at least decent. And you can check out the RIP or the RIP as it releases on Netflix January 16th. After life-shattering tragedy, Trish tries to comfort her best friend Maddie by taking her on a spectacular adventure in a private lagoon half across the world. Their peaceful retreat soon becomes a terrifying fight to stay alive when the ocean's most bloodthirsty predator seeks vengeance for brutal life in captivity. Oh man, this one is the one that I'm really excited for. I love creature feature films. You know, there's just something about them. They can just be so cheesy and so enjoyable at the same time. Or you can take a more serious route and making those creatures really menacing and scary. And I love a good, so bad that it's good shark film. You know, I just recently watched all the Sharknado films in preparation for the new Sharknado film that's coming out this year, Sharknado Origins. because we needed that. And it's just so interesting that, moviegoers or movie people are so obsessed with sharks. It's just crazy. I know Jaws did a number on us. And we don't get that much killer whale films. There was that one film called Orca that released in the 1970s. But other than that, we haven't really got any killer whale or orca bloodthirsty killer animal films. But I got to talk about the music choice that they had for the trailer of this film. Do You Really Want to Hurt Me? That rendition that they have in the trailer, I don't know whether to laugh or cringe. Maybe both. But be on the lookout for Killer Whale when it hits VOD and theaters on January 16th. A musician returns to her childhood home and finds her late father's recorded murder confession made to ward off evil forces. As her son's behavior grows disturbing, she fights to end the darkness. Now this one's tricky, it looks like it's going to be bad. like really bad. It looks like it's going to be really bad. But there's something in here, much like the Sleepwalker movie, that there's something intrigues me. Maybe the mystery that they're going to do, the reveal that they usually do in these type of films, is going to be something that's interesting and is worth talking about. So hopefully the mystery in this film is going to be enough to make up for all the bad stuff in the trailer. I'm hopeful. You can check out The Confession when it hits VOD on January 16th. Cosmic Princess Kaguya is the tale of two girls who bond through song. In a dream-filled virtual realm, their destined moments take center stage in a dazzle visual spectacle. So one of my favorite anime genres is isekai, where someone is transported to another world and has to survive. And with this film, it looks like we got that mixed with some music. So this is basically going to be the K-pop Demon Hunters of 2026. Now, I'm not expecting K-pop Demon Hunters, level of music in this film, but I am expecting some good music. So if you're into anime and you like music and you have a Netflix subscription, be sure to check out Cosmic Princess Kaguya on Netflix January 22nd. Miki faces a deadly diagnosis, but she isn't ready to die yet. Heading into the woods with her father, she seeks dark magic at the hands of a mysterious recluse witch who has an intimate relationship with death and roots that go deep in the land. Now, this is another film by the Addams family, and this is the first film for me that I'm going to watch of theirs. But I have seen that their films are beloved by critics, but are pretty much hated by fans. So I'm really interested to see how that's going to play for me. But I do think that this might be a really interesting starting point for me with my Addams family movie quest. And this movie looks weird. It looks like it might be up my alley, that kind of weird stuff. And I'm pretty excited to check this out. It doesn't look like the best, it totally does look like it's an indie film. But hey, gotta give that stuff a chance. So you can check out Mother of Flies when it hits Shudder on January 23rd. With his marriage on the rocks, Kevin decides to whisk his wife, Susie, away on a romantic getaway with a wild, misguided plan. Fake a break-in and play the hero. But when things spiral and someone turns up dead, Kevin finds himself at the center of a murder investigation with lies piling up faster than alibis. So for this one, I feel like this one can go either way, much like most of the movies that I have on this list. Either I end up enjoying this film and I think that it's actually pretty witty and pretty funny, or I think that it's going to be dog shit. And I'm really hoping it's not the latter. The premise doesn't jump out to you as being something really interesting or thought-provoking, but, the cast that we have involved and the little bit that I have seen in the trailer gives me hope that it's going to be at least funny. It has some fun with this film. That's all I want. I have a channel called Straight to VOD. I'm going to be watching a lot of crap this year. So if you can make your movie at least funny, give me some enjoyment, that's all I want. Untitled Home Invasion Romance hits VOD on January 27th. Once upon a time, Yuri was one of Japan's deadliest assassins, but she retired and now spends her days running an underground brothel. A news report about a former colleague who has died under mysterious circumstances didn't quite sit right with her. Now the dead colleague's son is now a target of the military manhunt, and Yuri will do whatever it takes to keep him safe. Now, I don't have that much to say about this film because it has one of my favorite genres: badass chick with a gun. So I don't know, it just could be the time that I grew up in where there was a ton of badass women on my TV screen just kicking ass and taking names. You had Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Xena the Warrior Princess, Angelina Jolie kicking ass as Tomb Raider, Mila Jovovich kicking ass as Alice from the Resident Evil films, Kate Beckinsale kicking ass as Celine from the Underworld series. I just had it all. And Revolver Lily looks like it's going to, just continue the trend of the movie genre that I love so much. So I don't have that much to say. If you're into that kind of stuff and you want to check out Revolver Lily, it finally comes to the States on VOD January 27th. And that is the list. That is 10 movies that are coming out this month that I think that may not be on your radar. Let me know what you think of the list in the comments down below. Let me know if there's any movies, VOD films, streaming service films that are coming out this month that I missed or you want me to talk about or you want me to review. Let me know in the comments down below. This is Straight to VOD, the #1 place you can get movie reviews for movies that no one else is talking about. I'll check you guys out later.